Welcome to Norse Nusantara, where I bring you voices in art and living heritage that define and disrupt ideas about the Nusantara, the world's largest archipelago. Thank you, Dr. Nasha Khaw, Director of University Science Malaysia Centre for Global Archaeological Research, for joining Norse Nusantara. Our podcast sails through the visual cultures of maritime Southeast Asia, and your work at Bukit Choras and the greater Bujang Valley could not be more relevant. So since 2017, you had led fieldwork on outcrops along Kedah's ancient riverine corridor. In 2024, your team unearthed a 1,000-year-old life-size stucco image of a meditating Buddha, an astonishing find that reframes the historical, geopolitical map of the region, especially as a gateway of early trade and commerce in the Nusantara. So today we'd like to explore how the region's first Hindu-Buddhist landscapes enshrined in art opens up a new topography on trade and globalization. Well, welcome to the show, Dr. Nasha. Could you tell our audiences what first drew you to pre-colonial history of Kedah and Bukit Choras?
Thank you, Noor. Now, the first thing that drew me to study ancient Kedah and Bukit Choras is in terms of how different ancient Kedah was as compared to other textbook kingdoms that we learn in history. Ancient Kedah is so dynamic. Instead of existing as a centralized Hindu-Buddhist polity, it was a mosaic of coastal and riverine settlement where each settlement would have different reaction to external cultural stimulus. You know, we can see they existing as the confederation of coastal and riverine settlement, where each settlement is quite unique in terms of their economic function. And as for Bukit Choras, it is one of the sites that was located at the fringe of these settlements. It was located towards the north of the area where most of the archaeological sites are located. You know, our studies so far had shown that ancient Kedah was quite complex. You know, it was quite multicultural. So that really drove me to study more on that side.
Okay. And could you tell us a bit more about your role at the University Science of Malaysia?
Well, as a researcher, I oversee the archaeological research in the Bujang Valley, in the Bukit Choras archaeological site, and soon we'll be excavating the Sungai Batu archaeological complex. And I am advocating for interpretation of the history of Bujang Valley by looking at the site as a result of a dynamic culture and fluid political system. Okay, and aside from research, I am also doing lots of community engagement programs. You know, especially engaging with tour guides. You know, training students. You know, as well as other stuff that lecturers are doing, you know, teaching and administration works. But as a research center, we are focusing more on research and interpreting archaeological data to form a narrative of our region.
Okay. And I just want to get really quickly into your 2024 discovery, which has been billed in the press as a major archaeological breakthrough. What single clue convince you that Bukit Choras, rather than dozens of other spaces, held something extraordinary?
Yes. Well, the site of Bukit Choras was already studied by Quaritch Wales in the year 1937. He conducted some trial excavation in the area, and he reported some findings. And the findings are excavated by Wales, are being preserved in ACM right now. Yeah, but his report was not very complete. It is not very complete. He didn't furnish the drawing of the site. So I wanted to investigate the site. So what we did in 2017, we conducted a geophysical survey. So we shoot electrical and electromagnetic wave into the soil, and we detected something solid buried underground.
Right.
You know, before this, we were under the impression the site was not well preserved. We thought it is a disturbed site and nothing is left there. But when we conducted the geophysical survey, we detected that there's an intact site buried underneath the soil. So that drove me to conduct the excavation in Bukit Choras in 2023, which led to the discovery. You know, it was due to the geophysical survey that detected something buried, you know. So, and from there, we made the discovery.
Okay. And you have some images to share here. Is this part of the process?
Yes. This is part of the structure actually. So on top of Bukit Choras, there are actually two archaeological mounds. Okay, so the first mound excavated between 2023 to 2024 led to the discovery of the Buddha statues, etc.
Yes.
And after that, in this year, there's another mound to the south which was untouched. So we excavated that mound and we discovered another temple.
Okay.
So there are actually two structures excavated so far on top of Bukit Choras, and actually there are several more mounds surrounding the area. So it is very rich site, and in the upcoming years we expect to have more discoveries there.
Wow, that's amazing. So just to sum up, it was a combination of looking into history, past historical research, scientific data, and as what you said, also just surveying the field in a way. Okay. And I wanted to know, if you were at that trench on that day, what was the first visual clue that suggested there's something there?
Okay, now, when we first began our excavation, when we started digging, somewhere in August 2023, we didn't find much actually when we first started. When we just discovered several rubble, and we were under the impression that the rubble was a structure. So we thought that it's over already, it's just rubble and we are just going to leave the rubble. But we took a leap of faith after that. Maybe we should move some segments of the rubble to investigate what is buried underneath. Okay, and after we removed the rubble, we saw the intact structure. So it was actually the intact structure was covered by the rubble, and the rubble actually preserved the structure.
Sounds pretty similar to some of the major archaeological sites in the Nusantara, like Borobudur, which was covered by...
So it was covered by rubble, a thick layer of sediment, and on top of that, several trees. So it appeared that somewhere after the site was abandoned, the superstructure of the temple collapsed. It collapsed, it became rubble, and it covered the platform of the temple, which we discovered today.
And the dating of this goes back almost a millennia, right?
Yes, our preliminary dating on the pottery, we did OSL dating, gave the date of 1200 BP.
Wow.
So it is around 9th century CE. And then we discovered several inscriptions. The paleographic analysis, the stylistic, the style of the writing style gives the date of 8th, 9th century also. Okay. So it is safe to say that it's between 8th to 9th century CE.
Right. And what does the discovery, a major archaeological discovery of this, long dating, say about such a site? And how does it rewrite the history books?
Okay, now, as far as the dating is concerned of Bukit Choras, the dating is not too different from other archaeological sites in the Bujang Valley. In the whole of Bujang Valley, we have documented around 184 archaeological sites.
Wow.
184, okay? And out of that 184 archaeological sites, there are around 54 to 55 Hindu and Buddhist temples. And they are similarly dated to the Bukit Choras archaeological site. They came pretty much from the same date. What makes Bukit Choras stands out is the state of preservation of the site. Most of the Hindu and Buddhist sites that we discovered, they are not in a very good state of preservation. Okay. And this is due to the fact that most of the sites were located in a highly populated area. Okay. And number two, the other sites, they are not so rich with artifacts. So they have the structure, but rarely with lots of other findings. Maybe they discovered one inscription. If not one inscription, they maybe discovered some broken statues. So far, we have only excavated 35% of Bukit Choras, and we have discovered 3 statues, 3 inscriptions, lots of pottery, votive tablet, iron objects, and that is just a small segment of the temple that we have excavated so far. So the special thing about Bukit Choras is, number one, the state of preservation. Number two, the assemblage of the artifacts. Okay, so with lots of artifacts, we can have a more robust interpretation regarding the cultural features. For instance, we have the inscriptions. We can study the paleography. So from the paleography, we can tell, okay, from where the script came from. Okay, and then we have the statue. Okay, we can study the iconography of the statue. We discovered the temple, we can study the architecture. So by intersecting different aspects of the findings, we can have a more holistic view regarding the cultural process in the area. So that is what is interesting about Bukit Choras, because of the state of preservation, because of the number of artifacts that we discovered. As far as dating is concerned, they are similar to other sites, but we can be able to get more information from the findings.
Okay. And talking about the finding of the sculpture, and this is what we have here.
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit more about its stylistic features? Like, what does it reference to? Like the Indic reference, or does it actually adapt local traditions?
Okay, what can we say about the statue? Number one, it is a Buddha on a meditative position. We call it a Dhyana Mudra. And then it is seated on a lotus throne known as the Padmasana. The drapery, the robe, we call it a single fold robe. Single fold. The face is oval. And then we can see also some features of the hair. We call it Ushnisha. It shows the influence of Sri Lanka.
Wow.
It has some Sri Lanka influence, and it also shows some similarity with the Buddha discovered in the Dvaravati sites in Thailand. So we can see that as far as the iconography is concerned, there are some intersection between South Asian and Southeast Asian influence. And it is also made of stucco.
Okay.
And the stucco, it is a mixture of lime, sand and gravel.
Yeah.
And it appears that the lime also was locally sourced. You know, there's some limestone.
Yes.
Limestone outcrop at the upper reaches of the Muda River and in Alor. So it is local material, but foreign art, synthesized, adopted by the local manpower. You know, so what we see, it is foreign artistic features, but materialized by using local material and local manpower.
Okay.
So this is what we want to understand. You know, we want to understand the human dimension between the interaction of local people and foreign.
Yes.
There's a human dimension. It is not just transactional.
Yes.
You know? So
which comes to my next question then. Who would have commissioned such a fine work of art?
Okay, we don't have direct evidence for this. Okay, in order for us to know who commissioned the temple, it has to be literally written on stone.
Okay.
We need to discover some stone inscriptions stating that, okay, this was commissioned by so and so. But we can be able to make some calculated guess.
Yes.
Okay, we can make calculated guess. Okay, to the best of our guess, it could have been traders with local rulers who collaborated with the construction of the temple.
Yes.
And this temple, this particular stupa, existed over a long period of time. So there must have been different groups of people building and renovating many times over 3 or 4 centuries. You know, so for instance, maybe the site was first inhabited in the 5th or 6th century CE. Maybe a smaller temple was built, and after 20 or 30 years, a new group would come and refurbish the temple, and after that again people will come refurbish the temple. We should not see the process of construction of temple just as a one process, but it is a multiple process over a long period of time.
Amazing.
So we cannot really say that who actually commissioned the temple. It could be many people from many backgrounds.
Okay. And as you said, it's highly likely to also engage the local resources and the manpower. And that speaks of the local credence as well.
Yes, when we look at the temples or any archaeological sites in the Bujang Valley, we need to frame our finding that ancient Kedah is a place where there was continuous movement of people, ideas and goods. So it is not a place where people just come, build and leave, but there's continuous movement. And it is a coastal site. It was a center for trade.
Yes.
Naturally, many people would come and live. And in the process of movement of people, then they would just chip in to refurbish the temple. So that is the guess that we have right now. You know, of course, we need more evidence to prove this. And anyway, the site has not been fully excavated yet. So who knows, in the future we will find more interesting evidence,
Yep. And what are your plans in terms of future excavation?
Okay, we plan to continue our excavation next year. Okay, next year, because in this year we have several other sites to study also. The Center for Global Archaeological Research, University of Science Malaysia, is the only academic institution in Malaysia which is really focused on research, for archaeological research. And we also study other archaeological sites. Aside from Bujang Valley, we have lots of prehistoric sites in Malaysia. We have very talented academics in USM who is working on prehistoric sites. So of course we have to divide our time, not just for Bujang Valley, but also for other sites.
And are these only confined to Malaysia? Might it also apply to the rest of the Nusantara?
Well, we are also interested to expand our research, to expand our partnership, in studying the regional archaeology. Okay, for instance, we see that when it comes to culture, we are all interconnected.
Yes, indeed.
Especially in this region, So there are some resemblance between the sites in the Bujang Valley with other Southeast Asian sites like Jambi or West Java, and even Eastern India. So we cannot do our research in silo. We cannot study in isolation, and we must collaborate. We need to expand our collaboration. We need to have some partnership with the other archaeological institutions.
Right.
So of course, yes, we are interested to expand our research to other sites outside Malaysia also.
Okay. And, University Science Malaysia is based in Penang.
Yes, the main campus is in Penang.
Okay. And I went there last year, and that's how we met with the Southeast Asia Ceramic Society.
Yes.
And it was amazing that you had a lab, this state-of-the-art lab as well. Could you tell us a bit more of that? And is that a first kind of lab in Southeast Asia and in Asia?
Yes. It is the first integrated archaeological lab in Southeast Asia. We are fully equipped, with lots of state-of-the-art equipments. And we are, in fact, expanding the equipments right now. We are going to acquire more equipments.
Amazing.
And now we have just acquired LiDAR.
Please tell us what LiDAR is about.
So LiDAR, it is an airborne survey system. They can be able to detect the contour. And if the site is covered by trees, they can be able to map the stuff under the trees.
Oh my gosh, this is like science fiction movies.
Well, they already did that in Angkor, in fact.
Okay.
So now we are going to apply LiDAR research to Bujang Valley. Now our staff is still being trained on how to manage, how to operate the equipments. But soon we'll be having new results, on our survey. We can be able to detect more archaeological sites in the Bujang Valley. And there are so many areas which had not yet been properly surveyed.
Wow.
Mind you. For instance, Gunung Jerai. The areas at the foot of Gunung Jerai has not yet been properly surveyed, and we can be able to apply the LiDAR method to detect archaeological sites there. In Sungai Batu complex, we can be able to study there also, as well as other parts of the Bujang Valley.
Amazing.
And we can be able to work on other archaeological sites also in Malaysia. And with future collaborations with other ASEAN countries, then maybe we can be able to do in other sites also.
Okay. I'm just intrigued. How is this data documented? Who is accessing it? And why are they accessing it? Other than, just for research and academic purpose.
Okay, now, when we do any archaeological research, of course, we are going to do proper documentations. We have the archaeological reports, etc. And the information that we gathered from the research is going to be published. They are published in mostly academic journals.
Yep.
And once it is published, it is accessible to everyone.
Yep.
And after they are published in journals, of course, you know how academic research papers are. So we are going to simplify and produce small booklets, or
produce a podcast.
Yes, a podcast. We need to make sure that our info is not just confined within the academic circle. We need to make sure that our knowledge can trickle down to the people.
Yeah.
Anyway, we use the taxpayers' money to do research, and it needs to benefit the people. It needs to benefit the nation. So how can we benefit the nation? We need to tell people about the archaeological discovery. They might need to have the sense of belonging to the heritage that we have, which is after that going to promote social cohesion. For instance, in Bujang Valley, we have traces of Chinese ceramics. We discovered Arab and Persian glasses. We have Indian temples. We have evidence for big indigenous populations, So it shows that the archaeological findings in the Bujang Valley belongs to everyone. Everyone can feel proud of that kind of finding. And this is the kind of narrative that we need to promote. Inclusivity, multiculturalism, those are the stuff,
Yes, we do. And because some of your research would also rewrite the history books. In your experience, might that have brought about some challenges or interesting situations that you need to navigate?
Okay, I wouldn't say that our findings would rewrite the history books. I say that it would contribute to the body of knowledge. It further it fleshes out our narrative. It shows that our history is far more complex.
Yes.
Before this, we have always known that ancient Kedah was a pre-Islamic polity. It was economically strong. It had a complex culture. We already knew that.
Yep.
But the new discovery fleshes out on that narrative. We can be able to go into detail regarding how the cultural diffusion happened. We can be able to describe what kind of foreign cultures came to Bujang Valley and how the local population responded to the foreign culture. We are able to prove that the process of cultural transfer is not a one-way process. It is not a simple process, but the people had this cultural negotiation. They adopted, they synthesized, they materialized the culture in their own way. So this is the way that we contribute to the body of knowledge. We don't change the history, but we further fleshes out the narrative.
Right. And would you say that narrative is also fleshed out in a very visual way, especially when I visited the newly opened museum?
Definitely. It is not something that we conjure up from thin air. We have the findings. We can be able to touch. We can be able to see the findings, and they are so clear. Not just Bukit Choras, but also when we go to the Sungai Batu Archaeological Complex, it is a big iron smelting site. They have dozens of iron smelting sites with jetty sites and Buddhist temple.
And I think we visited the iron smelting site. Is this one of them?
Yes, this is one of the complex, the Sungai Batu Archaeological Complex. Now, what does it say about Bujang Valley? They have religious sites, so ornate like Bukit Choras. They have big iron smelting sites in Sungai Batu. They have trading sites with lots of Chinese and Arab tradewares in Pengkalan Bujang. They have bead making industry in Kampung Sungai Mas. So we can see that the society in Bujang Valley, they were extremely complex. It was a bustling area with diverse economic activities. They have settlements of Indian traders, Persian traders, and Chinese sailors.
Nice.
And we have the local polities, the local chieftain, the dynastic rulers, the merchant aristocrats. So this is the kind of thing that happened in the middle of a trade route. And it continues. This kind of social makeup continues to the Sultanate of Malacca. We know it was a metropolitan, and it continued into the modern day Malaysia and Singapore also, where we have this vibrant multicultural society. So it shows that tolerance, multiculturalism, diverse economy has always been part of our identity.
Okay, and going back to the Nusantara, do you feel that Nusantara's unique maritime character has played a part in this?
Yes, of course. Nusantara, the Malay archipelago, is located between two big civilizations. We have China in the east, India in the west, and further to the west, we have Middle Eastern. And these two or three big powers, they are economic powerhouse. They produce lots of products, lots of commodities. The excess of commodity compels them to trade with each other. And in the process of trade, intentionally or unintentionally, it led to the cultural diffusion. It leads to the cultural transfer, technological transfer. However, we need to view the Malay archipelago also as a diverse area. Different groups of people would have different level of acceptance, different reactions to the external cultural stimulus, which makes the area very diverse. So we cannot say that people in the Bujang Valley are the same with the people in Java, or the people in Sumatra are the same with the people of Borneo. So they have different level of acceptance towards foreign cultural influences. So that's why I say that when we want to discuss about the culture of Nusantara, we need to be context specific. Okay, we cannot paint the whole area with the same color. But one thing that is common for whole of Nusantara is diversity, is interconnectivity. And the most important thing is the cultural fluidity and dynamism.
Yes, which is quite a fitting analogy for maritime Southeast Asia, which also is often described as the Maritime Silk Road. Okay. So earlier we talked about Nusantara as the Maritime Silk Road. I want to talk about a different sort of Silk Road, the Overland Silk Road, and this has something to do with your early training. Tell us about your early archaeological training, which interestingly took place in
Peshawar,
yes,
Pakistan.
yes.
Yeah. Yes, I did my PhD in the University of Peshawar, Pakistan. And it was under USM scholarship. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went there to study about the inscriptions from the civilization of Gandhara.
Wow.
The Gandhara civilization. So Gandhara is a cultural region, is a historical region located somewhere in western Pakistan and eastern Afghanistan, and they are known for the intricate Buddhist art.
Yes,
the Gandharan art.
Tell us a little bit about Gandharan art for the audience.
The Gandhara art is usually related to Buddhism, which can be dated somewhere between the 2nd or 3rd century BC until the 3rd, 4th century CE.
Okay.
So during this period, they use Gandhari language, they use the Kharoshthi script, okay, and they discovered numerous number of Buddhist stupa. They discovered lots of Buddhist statues, and they're so beautiful. They shows the assimilation between the Indian art and the Indo-Greek art. You can see the Indo-Greek, the Greek features. In the Buddhist statue. Now, I studied the different period of Gandhara, the post 4th century after the decline of Buddhism. So I studied the Brahmi and Sharada inscription coming from the Gandhara region, which can be dated from the 4th to the 13th, 14th century CE. It was a later Gandhara period, which shows the influence of Hinduism. So Gandhara is usually known for Buddhism, but I studied the later period when Hinduism started to the resurgence of Hinduism, period of resurgence of Hinduism, after the Buddhism. So during my study, I reanalyzed and interpreted around 73 inscriptions, and based on the decipherment of the inscription, I tried to reconstruct the history of Gandhara in terms of the economy and political structure.
Right.
Okay, we know that Gandhara is located in the middle of the trade route known as the Silk Route, and it was actually the entrance. It became an entry point between Central Asia and South Asia. So it was a very culturally diverse area.
Yes.
So we had the Indo-Greeks coming into the region. They had the Huns, the Persians, and the Indians, of course. So it was really a multicultural area. It was a melting pot between different cultures, and economically also it was trade, agriculture, and industry. So we can be able to drive some parallelism between Gandhara and the regions in the Nusantara.
Yes, tell us.
Both strategically positioned between two big powers. For instance, in Gandhara, it is between three powers. Central Asia, East Asia, and India. Okay. But for Nusantara, it is between China and India. So we can see that both Gandhara and the Malay archipelago is a place where different powers intersected. And as a result, the economy was almost the same.
Right.
And the political structure was also almost quite similar. Because based on my research, it shows that between the 4th to the 11th century CE, the political system, they are quite fragmented. They were like independent polities and municipalities, but they cooperated in terms of economic activities, and the culture also was extremely diverse. And the same case also we see in the Malay archipelago, that we can see such diversity here also. So the most important thing that I learned in Pakistan by doing my research there is culture is extremely dynamic and fluid. We should not view culture as something so monolithic.
Yes.
And the cultural process happened. It is multi-directional, and when we look at political system, it is usually a polycentric political system, where we have different polities, autonomous polities who collaborated at one time, and then after that minding their own business, and they collaborated again when there's a need to it.
Right.
So we can see that politics should be dynamic, culture is very dynamic. Those are the things that I learned, and based on my experience in Peshawar, I implement the same kind of theoretical framework to ancient Kedah, which happens to work nicely with our findings that we have here.
And this framework you're talking about is more multidimensional.
Yeah, multidimensional. We call it the multivocality of research, because we see historical narrative or cultural process not as a single strand of narrative, but different possibilities. And when we look at archaeological findings, we should view archaeological from different facets,
Yes.
From the material point of view, from the artistic point of view, the context of the archaeological material with the environment, the context of the archaeological material with the regional power dynamics.
Yes.
So we need to view the artifact from different perspectives and try to construct a narrative which integrates these different perspectives,
Yep.
so that we can have a robust interpretation. So it is not a unidirectional narrative, So this is the kind of research process that we have in the Bujang Valley right now.
Right. And yes, that's pictures of you in
Okay.
in Peshawar.
I was 27 or 28 during this time.
How long do you spend in Peshawar?
Almost 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 5 years.
And during that time, of course, you visited the sites.
Yeah.
And sorry to say, but right now the region, would you say it's a conflict zone? And was it quite a tenuous space when you were doing your studies?
I wouldn't call it a complete place, because during my stay in Peshawar, things were fine. Well, I did come back in one piece. I did come back in one piece.
Yes.
And the people there are extremely nice. They took care of me.
Yeah.
They are very hospitable. Peshawar is known as the land of hospitality. The whole province, we call it Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. It is the land of hospitality. And the Pashtun people, especially, they are extremely hospitable toward guests.
Yep.
So I enjoyed my time there.
Nice.
And I learned lots of new things, And from my experience there, it enables me to rethink about our history, which should be seen as a fluid and dynamic process. I learned all that from my experience in Peshawar.
Okay. And you did mention that this is the space where Gandaran art had its origins. Is this also the same space where the famous Bamiyan sculptures were?
Yes, Bamiyan is located in Afghanistan, but it is still within the cultural region of Gandhara. It is a cultural region because there are two types of region within Gandhara. We have the core region.
Yep.
And the cultural region. The core region is somewhere in the Peshawar Valley, but there are also adjacent areas where they were being influenced by the Gandharan art.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Bamiyan culture, the Bamiyan statues, they are under this cultural zone of Gandhara.
Okay. And were you perhaps part of the preservation efforts?
No, because when I was in Peshawar, I was just focusing on my inscription. There was it was 73 inscriptions to study.
Right.
So I was really focusing on my own studies. But I did visit some important areas in Pakistan, such as Taxila.
Okay.
Taxila is one of the important population center for Gandhara. Also we went to several important Buddhist sites in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. So it is very enlightening to see those different, those complex cultures, are flourishing under multicultural societies that live there.
Okay. Well, coming back to your work again here in the Bujang Valley Archaeological Museum, how involved are you in its curation and its development?
Okay, for now, I am focusing on research.
Okay.
I'm focusing on excavations to unearth the temples, the artifacts. But from time to time, I engage with the museums as well as other authorities like the National Heritage Department, to assist them, to furnish information for them so that they can be able to curate the galleries,
Yes.
So yes, aside from research, I do engage with the authorities, especially the museum and the heritage department, to assist them.
Because one of the things that was very striking during my visit there was, of course, it's new and the collection is pretty wide.
Yes.
And impressive in its interpretive and contextual resourcing. You're smiling because were you very much involved in the process and
because
reinventing?
I assisted the museum departments to establish, to help with the storyline of the galleries, with the captions. So the government of Malaysia, through the museums department, has made lots of effort, to improve our gallery. It seems like they did a very good job.
I have to say,
Great
it was
job.
outstanding.
So it is due to the effort of the museums department. Of course, we did our part as a researcher. So we advised them on how to construct the storyline,
And I like the fact that the museum was in proximity to the archaeological sites.
Yes. And most of the artifacts displayed in the Bujang Valley Archaeological Museum were excavated in the 1930s, 1970s until 2008.
Wow.
So now we have new discoveries. So we are soon after we are done with our studies, then maybe it will be displayed also. So I say that, research is a continual process. We will keep on discovering new things, so with that, it is going to make the gallery more interesting,
Yes.
So we will always have new artifacts to display. I think museums should be alive, by having lots of activities, updating the storyline with new discoveries. So that is what the Malaysian museums are doing right now.
Yes, and as you mentioned, the robust discourse as well.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
From time to time, we have lots of activities with the museums, especially the Bujang Valley Museum. They organize lots of lectures, lots of conferences. Whenever we organize conferences, they are going to attend. So we always update each other.
So it's like an ecosystem of knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, see, the academics, especially my center, we are very close with the museum department. We are very close with the heritage, the Jabatan Warisan, the National Heritage Department. So we know what's happening and we always coordinate our work together. So that is the strength of our team right now, coordination between different government departments.
Yeah.
Also with the state government of Kedah, where the archaeological sites are located. So it is a strong collaboration between different government agencies with the university and with the NGOs also.
Yes, and I recall also being very impressed with the indigenous collections, and that also spoke of the relationship between the institution with the communities as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
For our archaeological research center in USM, we also have ethnographical studies, ethnoarchaeology, where we study the orang aslis.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have an expertise on that, We have a special lecturer who's working on that. So our research is really multidimensional. It is really multidisciplinary. So we study the proto-historic period, the Hindu-Buddhist period. We study the pre-historic period. We study ethnoarchaeology and also community archaeology, public archaeology. We also have that, So that's why I say that, we always have to engage with the public. We always have to expand our collaboration.
Yeah. And Singapore and Bujang Valley has a nice little connection. Because in the Asian Civilizations Museum, there's this beautiful Buddha sculpture that's currently in our collection. Perhaps you might recall it. It's a pocket-sized figure of the Buddha, and he's got a very calm face with gentle swaying hips.
Tribangga. Tribangga.
Yeah. What does that particular artifact actually say about, say, Bujang Valley?
Well,
are you comfortable talking about this?
Of course. Yeah. Well, you see, the discovery of that Buddha statue is not something surprising. It is Bujang Valley was the center for trade.
Yeah.
And naturally, we would discover such artifacts in the Bujang Valley. You have the Buddha statues, and it is not the only statue that we discovered. After the discovery of that statue in the 1940s, more were discovered in Kampung Sungai Mas. They have several, I think 2 or 3 Buddha. One Buddha head, the broken one. And then some clay statues. And then in the 70s, they discovered more Buddha statues in Pangkalan Bujang. So the discovery of the bronze statue in Bujang Valley is not something unique, But the unique thing is the artistic values, the iconography. It is so nice. So we have not found any bronze statues in the Bujang Valley yet after that,
Yes.
So it is a very important piece of art, I say.
Yes.
And it shows the level of interconnectivity between the Bujang Valley with the outside world. You see, we have this Gupta influence statue discovered from the site 16A. And then our recent discovery in Bukit Choras, some Sri Lankan or the Varati influence. And then we have inscriptions written in the Brahmi script, modified by the locals. We discovered, the pedestal said to show Cham influence. So we can see that Bujang Valley, it is not a place where single culture was practiced, but it is a mosaic of different cultures. It is a place where different cultures were being practiced at the same time. Due to its status as a center for trade. Where communities of foreign traders, would come and bring their ornaments, which used to refurbish a temple. So the discovery of the Buddha statue, that particular thing is something quite normal for the Bujang Valley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Coming back to, say, the everyday person, what is the significance of archaeology, especially regional archaeology? Why should the everyday person pay closer attention?
Oh, of course. Now, You see, archaeology, like history, it builds our identity. You know, it sets the historical precedent to what we have today. You know, for instance, for the context of Malaysia, we know today Malaysia is a vibrant multicultural society. We have our economy based on trade, industry, and exploitation of natural resources. We have the political system of a federation. And the same thing happened during the Bujang Valley times. Okay, let's talk about economy of the Bujang Valley.
Yeah.
We had international trade. They have iron production. They had bead production, and they had exploitation of rainforest product. Pretty much the same to what Malaysia has today. You know, we have trade, industry, and exploitation of the oil and gas. So we can see the parallelism between modern day Malaysia with 1,000 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about multicultural society. Malaysia today is a multicultural society. We live in peace. There is social cohesion, and the same thing in Bujang Valley. Although many of the communities, they were maybe temporary, they had temporary settlements, but still, you know, these people, there was social cohesion during these times. You know, with the discovery of the Indian influence temple, you know, the hybrid cultures between the Indians and the local populations, you know. So it shows there's some sort of social cohesion during that time. And let's talk about the political system.
Yep.
You know, political system today in Malaysia, it is a federation. And in those days, ancient Kedah should be viewed as a confederation of coastal settlements. You know, where each settlement would have their own chieftains and maybe one big ruler in the bigger settlement. So it sets the historical precedent,
Yes.
you know, to what we are having today in Malaysia. And it happened in Bujang Valley, and it happened to Malacca,
Yes.
and it happened in today's Malaysia. And it also gives information regarding the multifaceted relation that we are having with the outside world. For instance, with China. Okay, we discovered lots of Chinese ceramics in the Bujang Valley. We know that there was some relation between the Kedah with the Chola powers at the same time. You know, so it shows that they were hedging during that time.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
we discovered ceramics coming from the Sung period, 11th century CE. And at the same time, we know in the 11th century CE, they had relation with Chola also.
Yes.
You know, and also with other Middle Eastern traders. So it shows that during those days, they were able to balance between China and India and the Middle Eastern for the benefit of their economy.
Yes.
So this is something that we are having today also. You know, we can view Bujang Valley as the model for ASEAN centrality. Yeah, I mean, that is possible to have that kind of narrative.
That's a nice way of summing it up.
Yeah. It is a model, the ancient model of ASEAN centrality, of strategic autonomy.
Yes.
You know, and the strategic hedging, you know, where we collaborated with everyone for the interest of our economy. You know, for the for the interest of the economy and our how do you say, regional stability also. Yeah?
Yes, possibly that's also a poignant reminder or perhaps a blueprint, especially in today's very polarizing situations.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
You know, and even in those days, it shows that, you know, for instance, the bead making industry, it was an Indian method of making beads. And then they use broken glasses, broken Arab glasses. So they recycled the Arab glasses and turned them into beads and sell it off.
So they
Innovation.
were ahead of their time.
Innovation, you know.
Yes.
So we can see that technological transfer already happened during those times, and today also is happening. So what do the people get from archaeology? Get a sense of identity. We understood that whatever that we have today, the prosperity that we have today, is not something new. You know, the geostrategic position of the Malay Peninsula and Singapore too. You know, it is not something new. You know, so far we have survived the shifting power dynamics in the region for thousands of years. And of course, we are going to survive the future.
And so we talked earlier about the significance of archaeology for the everyday person. Next, I want to ask, and perhaps many aspiring archaeologists would also ask of this, what advice would you give to aspiring archaeologists who wish to unearth the region's invisible histories?
Do not view our culture and our history with a simplistic mindset. Culture is complex. Okay, cultural process is multi-directional. You know, culture is fluid. So we should not have an oversimplistic view. Okay, when we want to look at the cultures in the Bujang Valley, It is a place where there is a mosaic of different cultures. Historical narrative does not necessarily have to exist in a single strand. There could be different strands of narrative. When evidence is not enough, we need to fill up between the evidence with different possibilities. For instance, instead of giving one strand of narrative, we need to consider different possibilities of interpretation instead of sticking to one narrative only. So my advice is we need to have an open mind, and we should not view Southeast Asian culture and Southeast Asian history as a single strand narrative, and we need to view them as a dynamic culture, fluid culture, and multi-directional process.
Amazing. Well, with that, Dr. Nasha, thank you for concluding that so multi-dimensionally here on North Nusantara podcast. We would like to thank you for guiding us on Bukit Choras and across a millennium of Kedah's history. And your discoveries reminds us that Southeast Asia earliest spiritual landscapes were anything but peripheral. So thank you again. And for all the listeners and viewers out there, you are able to access this podcast through Spotify, YouTube, and all major online platforms.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to this episode of North Nusantara. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to this podcast to hear more from leading thinkers and creators on picturing the Nusantara.